Hello, everybody. A little bit, make sure everybody's in. A few firsts. Right. So, what I am talking about today. So, what I want to do is really just talk about how we can get from reactive to proactive. And I think, we see it all the time that happens is that we just we plod along a bit. We do is we end up just kind of reacting to what's in front of us and kind of taking stabs in the dark. And what I want to do is just take you through how we can change that, things we can do to get there together, right? So in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to go fast paced and I'm going to nail out as much as we can. What I try and do is have a pen and paper if you can, because it's going to be a little bit of an exercise that I'm going to show you. I'm sure you'll get the slides anyway. So we do at JH is about taking people through those different levels, leveling them up, making sure they're 2 steps ahead, and making sure that they are thinking outside the box. Right? It's really, really easy to just think directly in front of you, not think much further than that, and just react, react, react. And we can all know that this year we kind of went through kind of 3 different phases. We survived. It was just, how the heck do I keep my job? How the heck do we keep orders going? All the rest of it, how do we buy toilet paper? Let's face it. And then we adapted, we stockpiled, we had everything there. And the question we now have to ask is, but did we thrive? We made it through it. How do we take those opportunities that we had and go much further than we ever have before? How do we just dominate going forward? So this year and beyond presents the opportunity to take those lessons and take them forward. So if we had retail staff being put into customer support, how is that a unique service proposition for us? How do we get to say the former managers that spoke to hundreds and hundreds of customers every single day, and now the ones on the other side of the phone just 10 seconds away if you're having trouble finding the thing you want? If we're now online first rather than a mix of both or retail first, how do we think differently? How do we take it into where we move forward? And ultimately, if we don't know where we're going, we're going wrong. And none of that should be offensive. Some of this is, means to an end. We get there by the means we do, and now we have to switch it up. And today, what I want to do is a bit of call to arms, I suppose, and how we can get better, how we can take those steps. The tiers of strategic approach, in my opinion, are these 4. And most people stick on tier 4 and they kind of level up through them. They very rarely start on a higher tier than that. What I really want to do today is talk to you about leveling up, talking to you about how you can get there and how you can move forward. And the first step really is about admitting where you're at. So let me talk about how that looks when it's not good, and then I'll talk about how it does, and then we'll go forward to get you up those different levels. So when it doesn't look good, what's typically happening is I've got an idea, I've just seen it on this place, let's copy that thing. Oh, there's a module, even better, let's get it installed. And while you're installing it, I'm going to go copy somebody else's website. And we're just throwing stuff at the wall and we're hoping it sticks. It's a repeated thing of every single week. There's just another thing we're trying, another thing we're trying, another thing we're trying. It's often used with the excuse of, I don't have budget, or I don't have a team that gets me, and that kind of thing. And not a lot of what I'm saying today is going to cost you a ton of money. There's definitely things you can do that cost you a lot of money. You could decide to rebuild your entire website, right? But there's a lot of stuff here that just take half an hour. And that's what I hope to do today. How it looks when it's great is that you start with a goal. I'm going to grow everything by 40%, and I've got objective measures to do so. I'm going to measure my conversion rate, my bounce rate, how many people open the emails, how many people convert from those, whatever else it might be. We're going to go out and we're going to actively seek the opportunities to unlock the growth within those measurable objectives. And then we're going to design solutions based off that data that we see. So why is the conversion rate low? Well, people are unhappy with this thing. Let's do something about that thing. Let's just not try and get the number up, but let's try and understand the customers instead. And again, this can just be about reading your live chat logs. It could just be about reading the emails you get to customer service or just listening in on the phone now and then. It doesn't have to be going to go do user research for 2 months and coming out with hundreds of pages of outputs, although it can be that way if you're much bigger. We then execute on those solutions. We measure the results. So we say, okay, on a rolling basis over a period of weeks and months, what's that number done? Is it consistently 4%? Has it moved to 4.2? What happened when it moved back to 3.6? We start understanding the data more, and we start really just understanding the business more, how we're going to get to that goal more, and how we can impact it more importantly. And then what we're going to do is we're going to repeat that in multiple work streams. So instead of doing one thing at a time, as fast as we can, and do two. So benefit of that really is you're going to have a common direction. So for you, your team, anybody else involved, you're going to be able to say, this is where we're going, this is what we're doing, and here's the measures of results that impact the success of your involvement here. Because they're written down, they're easily shared. A lot of people that we meet, especially for the first time, it's let me give you a half-day brief, let me walk you through the company's history for a couple of days. It's not, here's the plan, and this is the bit that's going wrong, and this is the bit we need to do. And just having an A4 sheet of paper makes so much so much of a difference here. Importantly, you're going to bring accountability, you're going to bring measurement and a benchmark for that success. Like I've said, if it's sticking at 4% forever, what are we doing to change that number? Partners and agencies can become an extension of the team because they're sharing the same information as you. They're looking at the same plan, the same information, everything else. And then you get what's typically called a founder mentality in the team, and a kind of an entrepreneurial spirit thrives amongst everybody. Because what happens is a lot of people can't become founder mentality or get an entrepreneurial spirit because they don't have the same information that the founder does. The founder's accessing what the profit margins are, where are we going, what's the curve, and all the rest of it. And the more you think about that strategically, it's more about tracking the numbers and learning from them. So the more you track them, the better you'll get. So what I want to do is give you a little exercise you can do separate to this talk, because I do have only 9 more minutes. So it's separate to this talk. You're going to do this exercise, and it's going to generate a bunch of small tactics for you to improve. So what I want you to do is pick a topic. So let's stick to something wide here, like your website. Let's just say the website for now, but you can deep dive into your checkout, your personalization strategy, your email. You could just say your fitness routine if you want to. But you have to pick a topic, right? What's the thing that you really want to analyze? So for anybody who doesn't know, the story of Three Little Pigs is that a wolf is after 3 pigs. The pigs build a house. They have a lot of time whilst this wolf's looking after them. One builds a house made of straw, one builds a house made of sticks, and one builds a house made of stone. The straw falls over immediately. The wolf goes straight through that. The pig runs into the house of the sticks, goes straight over that, and then all 3 pigs end up in a house made of stone. The wolf can't blow it over, and ultimately the pigs are safe, right? And in the worst version of that story, the wolf burns alive by trying to climb down the chimney. But the ultimate version of that story, what we're meaning here in this analogy, is that analyze that topic and see what things we might have made of those materials. So in our website are made of stone, which are our kind of which are sticks and everything else. So if we start at straw, it's what aspects of that site or anything kind of related to that site really do you just think are really flimsy? Like, this is terrible. We really need to spend some time on this thing. This is not doing a good job for us. It might be the fact that your customer support information is terrible. It's just 3 lines of text. It might be that you don't have an email provider. You've been taking subscriptions for who knows how long, but you've done nothing with it. These are going to be the bits that you just think will fall apart as soon as that wolf comes to blow at the door. And in this analogy, the wolf's your competitors, right? If the competitor's going to be able to take that thing apart, it's going to be in the straw column. We know that that's a high risk to us in terms of our growth, and where that growth could be stolen as much as where it can be gained. And we want to look at, in the second column here, we want to look at what's in those sticks. Sometimes they're rigid, sometimes they're not. Bit of a medium risk to us when it comes to our website. We're happy with a little bits of it. It could be better, but there's also really flimsy bits of this. You know, it kind of sits in the middle of the 3 columns. And then your final column it's immovable, it's low risk. I know that I'm better than my competitors at these things, or I'm going to go blow for blow, and a competitor's not going to steamroll over this, right? These are ultimately what you would normally declare as your USP. They would normally be the thing to say, this makes us us. This makes us special. This makes us different. These are the things that people come to us for. Might be your product packaging, nothing to do with a website, right? It might be your product imagery, but these are the things that make you special. Now, the thing I like about this is an exercise here, is that you get to reflect on the good things, not just the bad things. Like if you put everything in straw, then it ultimately means that the bar needs to be maybe lowered a little bit, and some things end up going to the side. But what you're quickly doing here is you're prioritizing where are my big wins going to be. In that straw column are typically where the biggest gains are going to be towards your goals and your measurables. They're going to be the huge steps forward. The sticks, some of them are going to be big wins, some of them aren't. But if you're focusing so much on the stones column, you're just going to get marginal gains. You're going to get 0.1%, 0.5%, sometimes a 10% growth, right? But you're not going to get 50% growth. You're not going to be able to massively impact those numbers that you're looking to do. That's a really simple exercise in terms of strategy, to say, well, Jimmy, I'm not strategic. I don't have time for this. You can do that in a few minutes. Reflect on it, and have a purposeful roadmap going forward. Another way to look at it is to bring it back to that survive, adapt, thrive analogy I started with. Some of these things need to go. Some of them need to be overhauled because they've just failed us. They're weighing us down. Would we be better without them, rather than having the crappy version that might exist right now? We adapt. It's like, well, we just need a bit more evolution. What needs to get it in? What do we need to do to it to get into a good place? And those thrive bits, why don't we double down on them? Why don't we start promoting them, making them a focus of our social and email and newsletters and everything we can, until we can improve the other things? And everything to that right-hand column is you'll just make the bar higher, and things will drop down to the left again, and exercise all over again until you are truly exceptional. So some advice for this overall, with this kind of exercise and this kind of relationship. This is a kind of a micro example of how a strategic relationship should work between, say, an agency and a merchant, or a merchant and anybody they have in their organization. It's kind of base thinking of how things will go. I want you to bring partners on board, have them contribute, give them the plan, make them accountable for their contribution, to say, these are the numbers that move. People are just held to, you delivered it on time, and that's a terribly low benchmark. We need to higher that bar. Always ask the question, how can we work better together? Get used to being as silent as possible after you've asked that question. Keep them on their toes, because a lot of people here ask that question. The other people will say, you know what, we've been doing this for this other person we work with, and actually I think you'd really enjoy it. And all of a sudden you've got a better relationship because you asked one question. It's about playing that long game, but it's also about, again, those freebies that you don't have to pay for. You don't have to be up in your bill and everything else. Competitors, right? So in my opinion, I don't really care about them. From my perspective, we're going to watch them, but we're not going to follow them. We'll check in on them now and then, but there's a reason that we exist. There's a reason that we decided to sell whatever we sell, and the reason we got online, and there's a vision that we have, and that's the path we're on. We're not on somebody else's version of that. Otherwise, we're just an also-ran. I believe every brand that we work with is truly special. I believe that everybody that business or joins a team to make that business better truly has a part in that. And I think for me, you do you, right? Like, make it yours, make it fun, make it something that you're going to enjoy, but don't sit there and copy their features. There might be some of those kind of right to play features. We also need a checkout, for example. But when it comes to truly making you special, that's where you can really double down, really thrive, and really start to build a competitive advantage, because you decided to take a different path. I want you to maximize the systems you've already got. I find that most people use about 10 or 20% of their third-party software, and something that they could get so much more for without paying more, just by asking the customer success manager what they should do next. Most of these companies, and the ones you'll hear today, and certainly Fresh Relevance, invest so much in their customer success teams. and so much in your success with their platforms because they ultimately want you to get that ROI. It's good for them. It's the reason they exist. It's what they enjoy doing. So you asking them, how can we do better? How can we, what have you got for me next, etc. I promise you, that'll make their day. And there's nothing better than making somebody's day and seeing somebody good at their job do their job. So you know you've made it when you say things like, I think we should focus on this one. It's a bigger step forward towards our objective. This one needs to wait for a while because it's not going to have the impact this one's going to have. You know you've made it when competitors are just a check-in. They're not your kind of central source of inspiration, but you're truly coming up with your own ideas because you've got that plan to look towards. You also know you made it when you start saying, I'm going to focus on operations this month. I'm not just going to add a customer focusing feature, but I'm going to work out how I can take Jenny's job over here and take it from 1 day to do this landing page to 2 hours, because that 6 days from Jenny is going to have such an impact on what we're going to do. Always have that mentality that matches the strategy. Make sure you surround yourself with people that are fun to be with. Otherwise, the strategy is never going to work. So we're going to have a strategy involving that multidisciplinary team. We're going to do the research. We're going to search for those insights. We're going to uncover the opportunities. We're going to promise ourselves we're going to step forward repeatedly towards that goal. We're going to make mistakes. We'll learn from them. But us, and we're going to have fun doing it. If you want to talk about that, either whether it's somebody else or us, this is how you get in touch. There's a nice JH booth with the links in there as well. I'm in the chat, so you can send me a message, but hopefully you've had a great event so far and you enjoy the rest of the day. Thanks, everybody.